Hello everyone, my name is Lowko, and welcome to a best of 7 series of top-level StarCraft 2. Today it's time for a Terran versus Protoss, where in the upper left, playing in red, we have none other than Maru, and down in the bottom right, for this very first game of the series, we're looking inside of the main base of Creator. Now, this particular series is from the new GSL tournament. It's called the GSL CK, and it's a team league format. So we have 2 team captains. There is Team Rogue, and then there's Team SHIN. And both of those players will have different, well, other players that they chose for their respective teams. So we have Team Rogue, consisting of Maru, Classic, Bunny, Solar, Zoun, and then of course Rogue himself. Going up against Team SHIN, consisting of ByuN, Creator, Cure, Hero, SOS, and then of course SHIN himself too. A very fun tournament format. So this very first match is going to be between Maru and Creator. And apparently the ways in which they decided it is that the maps are just randomly assigned to each specific game. So this is just out of the 9 options that you have, it's going to be completely randomized. And then the team captains, they must submit their players for each of the games in advance, at which point the lineups are revealed simultaneously. Meaning that it's a complete blind pick. You don't know who you're going to be putting out where. You just kind of put them out in a respectable order, and I guess you hope for the best. So, we find ourselves on Winter Madness. They are using the current official StarCraft 2 ladder map pool. So, obviously, a lot of the games I've been casting lately are from the Team Liquid map contest, but this is, I believe, something the GSL has actually always done historically. They only go for the tried and true maps rather than the ones that are a little bit more speculative. This is really fun. I'm actually very excited for it. So we have a Zealot start right here, by the way, first as a Reaper, so nothing all too crazy. Although making a Zealot first is a little bit out there. I'm going to be following it up as well with an Adept here momentarily as soon as that pylon finishes up. Fair enough. Okay. Getting these replays has actually been a little bit of a hassle. So this is, I believe, the 2nd season of the GSL CK. They did one as well last month, but they've been streaming it over on Soup. So this is a different platform than Twitch. It's a different platform than YouTube, obviously. And it's mostly a platform where a lot of Koreans like to watch, because I think that's mostly Koreans creating content over there. There's a lot of... I mean, there's a little bit of political drama there as well, with Twitch, like, basically no longer operating in the country, and basically other... well, more local services, like, for example, Soup having the upper hand. Anyways, that's a very long story and one for another time. But this is a platform that I think most of the English-speaking audience for StarCraft is not entirely aware of. Now, getting these replays, getting the ones from the previous one, was a little bit of a mess. I had to reach out to them directly. They didn't want to hand over the replays for the previous one. I tried paying for it. They were like, nah, we can't do it. So for the new season, the one that just ended, aka this particular one, they opened up a Patreon page. So, ooh, a little bit of miscontrol right there from Maru. He needs to be careful. You don't want to be losing everything here. Anyways, I ended up getting this particular replay pack by buying it off of their Patreon, only to find out that literally that same day, Blizzard released a very weird patch for StarCraft 2. This was 2 days ago, as of me casting this. They released a new patch for StarCraft 2 that permanently broke all replays from previous patches, aka also the ones from the GSL CK. And it basically meant that the replay pack was still entirely useless. Now, from what I understand, the thing they actually changed earlier this week to StarCraft 2 is like 2 hidden portraits that are currently unavailable and inaccessible. So this was like a 200 megabyte patch that they added to StarCraft, and for some reason, yeah, it's just broke the entirety of the game. Very messy, very confusing. Oddly enough, though, after a day and a half of the replays being broken, there was another 200 megabyte patch. That was this morning. Oh, really? Oh, we're gonna pull the boys. I guess I need to be done yapping here. Maru is going for one of his brand new all-ins, one of the ones that he's been loving lately. Anyways, there was another patch this morning. It somehow, some way magically fixed the replays. So I figured I'll go ahead and cast this. in before everything breaks yet again, because I'm not entirely in before it breaks in the middle of the series. Okay, Maru wants to get this game over with very, very quickly, so let's see what we can go ahead and do. There is no siege tank. Normally, he does this particular push with a siege tank. Landed Viking, though, is still really strong. He's going to use the SCVs here to repair the Cyclone back up, just going after the very important structures. This pylon over here on the low ground is actually powering pretty much everything, and it's going to go down. Immortal won't be spawning. Wait a second. In the middle of all my yapping, Maru is doing another one of those Maru guy, or what? I was going to say games and themes at the same time. Anyways, he's going to do another one of those Maru games where he is just trying to end it at minute 5. And you know what? He's doing it. Yeah, this is over. I don't see how a Phoenix build is going to be able to shut this down. Oh, no. Maru, come on. Okay, you know what I'll do differently for this map? I'll actually talk about the game. Spotting right here in the bottom left-hand corner of the Celestial Enclave. Playing here with the blue Proto Species, we have an old 2-time world champion of StarCraft 2 who goes by the name of SOS. All the way in the upper right, representing, of course, Team Rogue, we have none other than Bunny. It's been a little bit, actually, since I've last seen a Bunny game, so it'll be nice to get an update as to where he is currently at. That being said, though, I think I'm going to keep most of the camera time onto SOS, mostly because SOS is an absolute madman. I never really know exactly what to make of SOS lately, so he's been playing quite a lot. I say that. He's been participating in tournaments quite a lot, but I don't necessarily get the vibe that he is practicing particularly hard. I don't really mean that with any disrespect, and I guess it's... He's just checking for proxies here. I guess it's hard to take that without any form of disrespect, but it's just that I've seen some of the games that he plays, and it's just a little bit of a mess. Specifically, that series that he did against Raynor a few months ago came to mind. It's just, you know, that Mothership Rush that he ended up going for? He went for like a 2-base Mothership Rush and ended up getting supply blocked twice, despite the fact that he was not being messed with at all. Anyhow, Bunny is going to be a bit of a skill check, but I also don't really know exactly how much Bunny has been practicing lately. I know he participates in StarCraft 2 events from time to time, but I have no idea how practiced he currently is. Now, obviously, one of the reasons why the GSL is running again is to create a little bit more stability in the Korean SC2 scene. Basically, in case you're unfamiliar, a lot of the Korean tournaments have kind of stopped. Obviously, Blizzard pulled out some time ago, and then ESL also recently hasn't really been doing anything. So, the funding kind of dried up, and a lot of the StarCraft events just in general these days are crowdfunded. So this tournament that they're planning on, I think they're running it like once or twice a month even, so it's something that should be running on the regular. This tournament hopefully is going to create a little bit more stability, and maybe we'll give, well, both of, for example, these two players a bit more, I guess, of a time investment to, spend on StarCraft 2. Anyways, I was going to say, right, I was saying I was going to yap about the game, and instead I'm once again... Anyways, let's see. It's going to be a supply depot right over here, preventing any sneaky shenanigans from entering in through the back door. That is something you should probably always try to prevent from happening, not just in the video game. We're going to go, though, into a double and then into a quadruple Reaper start. A little bit odd. A little bit strange. Command center here on the low ground right now for Bunny, which will be spotted. I'm assuming... Oh, man, we're going to go into a Stargate build yet again. I'm assuming this will be a similar game to the previous one in the sense that the Terran is likely going to be deciding the pacing of the early game. I don't really know, though, if Bunny is going to be pulling the boys, too. That's one of the things, right? If you are, say, a little bit rusty, and again, I don't know. There's a good chance here that Bunny has been playing StarCraft 2 a hell of a lot. I just haven't really caught his games. If you are rusty, maybe looking at what the very best players are doing is not a bad idea. Good force field, yeah. And if you notice then that Maru is pulling the boys every second game, maybe that's something you can go ahead and incorporate. Now, this has been a very clean defense. Warp gates are going to finish up in just a moment. We have the shield battery done over here too. As long as the Reaper grenades are not going to push these units around too much. Yep. SOS is going to be able to defend with basically no losses. I think he just lost a single probe. Apparently now we have another probe dying since the units did sneak around the front yet again. But this has been a costly start here for Bunny. And not one that has really paid off. So, we go into a good old Phoenix build once more. So, Phoenix builds really have fallen out of favor lately. Although we have now seen Creator attempt it in the previous game. And then right now SOS is doing it here in the second game too. He's playing the macro game. Okay, you love to see it. Historically, SOS is a very cheesy player. But in this particular instance, he's opening up with a very safe approach. So what is kind of nice about Phoenix builds, if you survive until the mid game, it's usually quite easy to then survive until the late game too. So the early game is kind of tricky, but the mid game, assuming you micro your units reasonably well, is very doable. So if you want to play like a big Skytoss game as Protoss against Terran, opening up with like double Stargate Phoenix even is a very, it's a reasonable choice at the very least. It's not very popular right now, mostly because, well, all of the Twilight Council-based openers are just a little bit more popular, and obviously we see players like, for example, Hero, MaxSpecs have great success, never really building Phoenixes in this or really any matchup. It's gonna be a Twilight Council though, together with a Forge on the back of this, and maybe we're just gonna stick on 3 Phoenixes and that's it. Okay. So maybe now he's playing into the image of a Phoenix build without actually really committing very much into a Phoenix build at all. A little bit funky. In the meantime, though, on the side of the Terran, we're just going to follow this up with some good old Marine Marauder Medevac, it seems. Units that start with the letter M. That includes mines as well. Double upgrades here for the Terran units. Third command center has already been fired up. We got to cancel that SCV. Yep, and build up another orbital command. Certainly the right call. Combat shields, Stimpack. All the rest of it is coming up. Yeah, so SOS, interestingly enough, is not actually doubling down on Phoenixes at all. I thought he was going to try and play a very quick Skytoss game. And again, that is something that SOS has always been very fond of. But he's following this up with good old Templar. And then also the Zealot with Charge. So we can go into either Storm. We could also go Archon Zealot. Considering we're getting the +1 armor here, we're going to have to keep an eye out on exactly what the plan is. Because the +1 armor here is a little bit weird. I don't think he's planning on all-inning. Like, I'm almost a little bit confused here, but SOS does not seem to be... He starts up another Phoenix now. He does not seem to be going for an all-in. He just... Is he going to expend again? What are we doing with this probe? No, he's making an insane amount of gateways now. He's certainly planning something. The problem is that on this map, you can't really push in very easily. The Celestial Enclave, of course, really has only one entrance. You can knock down the rocks over here in the back, but it's gonna take a while, and generally speaking, Terrans will either, like, see it or hear it. Proxy Pylon right now in the upper left. Maybe he wants to overwhelm a 4th command center, which seems to be what Bunny is thinking of making right about right now. But in the meantime, all the way in the far bottom right, we have a 4th Nexus coming up. Okay, let's see. It's gonna be charge slots here with a couple of Archons. +1 ground armor is done. Normally, you'd be favoring the attack, no? He starts up +2 armor. Okay. I believe this is when Gen Alpha tells me to let him cook. Right after they call me Unk. What? We're hallucinating probes. Ah, he's trying to see if there's any other hidden Widow mines set up in this space. It's kind of neat, actually. So when you hallucinate probes, this is something a lot of StarCraft players don't know. If you hallucinate probes, you get 4 of them for the price of 1 set of energy. It's kind of nice. So if you want to trigger Widow Mines, maybe an hallucinated worker is indeed the right call. So, we have now set up shop right outside of the base here. He's still sprinkling in a Phoenix from time to time. Blink coming up as well. A Robo facility. 2nd Forge. What a spicy way of starting this off. This drop over here, though, could be real nice. Bunny actually wants to intercept this. Okay, he's gonna get 1 Phoenix. I really think he should have kept flying towards the bottom right. Would have been able to deal tremendous amounts of damage there, but sadly for him, he doesn't know about the base. Yeah, there wasn't really anything here defending this up until right now. Instead, though, he decides to just go for the guaranteed damage. +2/+2 is coming up. +1 air weapons now also getting started. We have a 4th command center in a safer location, and Yeah, we're gonna add on a whole load of zealots here in the far upper left. Let's see what we can do. This is gonna come down, I think, to like one really big clash somewhere in the middle of the map. It's been a relatively passive game, but this is one of those matches where suddenly things can be extremely explosive. Oftentimes quite literally. Bunny just all army hotkeyed Stimpek back. He caught 2 zealots. Congratulations. He just stimmed everything. Okay, I got a 3rd zealot for his troubles. Very sweet, dude. Game changer. I think this is one of those situations too, though. If you are Bunny and you're going up against SOS, like SOS really is a trickster. So for him to play this remarkably normal game, I mean, it's a little bit weird. The way in which he's getting to this point, to this spot, is a little bit funky, but the outcome here is remarkably standard. Albeit extremely zealot heavy. We now have 45 zealots. For SOS's standard, this is very, very normal, okay? I think he probably also expected something a little weird. So, the back door is open. Oh, yeah, no, this is not gonna happen, man. Huge EMPs right there. Bunny is gonna be able to clean this up easy peasy if SOS decides to commit. More and more zealots in the upper left. More and more Nexi, though, added into the mix, too. What's a little bit weird is that he's doing this off of a pretty small economy. Just 69 workers, which many people consider to be quite nice. But I think it's very mediocre. Like, as Protoss, if you want to play this Gateway Man style, you probably need like 70, 80, 90, sometimes even 100 probes just to keep the ball rolling. Instead, though, we're going to go into, well, actual rolling balls, I guess. Nice segue, Lowko. He's also, though, whilst building 2 disruptors, getting the ranged research for Colossi. Looks like Bunny is kind of done. The majority of the Protoss army is currently moving in. Please raise the... Oh, my lord. Please raise the depot. We did not raise the depot. What about the main army over here? The main problem I have with this Protoss ball is that you basically need to get a disruptor hit for all of this to be worthwhile. Because if you don't, you're just running a bunch of zealots at Marines and Marauders, and they're going to get destroyed. Funnily enough, there's already a load of Vikings up in the air to deal... Oh, God. Well, that's a decent hit. To deal with any potential Colossus transition, but there are no Colossi. We're going to soon have 6 disruptors out on the battlefield. All of them are going to have extended thermal lance, which doesn't benefit them at all. 16 probes end up dying, but 2 Nexi are also paying the price, it seems, although this one may very well live. He's looking for another free hit, though. Yeah, Purification Nova is good, but a little bit on the nose. Very easy to micro against, assuming Bunny actually pays attention. I like the transition here towards Liberators, but Bunny did lose a bunch of SCVs throughout this game, actually. 21 of them in total is not bad. He's gonna find out where those zealots have been coming from in just a moment, as he will accidentally stumble upon a random gateway in the upper left. Look at him stutter stepping the Vikings there on the same control group as the rest of all these units. He does snatch SOS, that is, one more ghost on his way out. In the meantime, though, there's a gigantic secondary army. Okay, and that is a load of probes dying. I think the Nexus over here may have gotten denied as well. Ranged upgrade is going to be needed for those Liberators in a moment. Looks like more Zealots are charging to their death. Yeah, and while this feels like almost like an experimental game for SOS, I just don't really think it is particularly strong. Like, it just feels like your main win condition is the opponent being mediocre at the game, right? Like, I mean, this is Bunny not playing his strongest game ever. He's very overstimped. He is definitely making some uncharacteristic errors, and it's still not working out at all. If this game was macroed a little bit cleaner by the Terran player, I think it would have been game over already. He wants to go for the pocket expansion, but SOS has never taken it. There's a bit of a Viking escort at the very least. They're going to also land, and after vending the Light Kings, we're going to send them into the main base. Okay, for some reason we're not putting the Light Kings in the front though, but it does not matter. GG gets called. Bunny gets a second point on the board for his team. Alrighty. Next up, we find ourselves on the map Tourmaline, where in the upper right, we have the #1 Protoss on the planet. He goes by the name of Hero. Down in the bottom left, one of the greatest Protoss players out there. Maybe not quite the #1, but he's pretty darn close. We're looking at none other than Zoun's main base. Now, what is this, Hero? Are we just sprinkling a cheeky pylon around the map? Yeah, actually, I think that's exactly what it is. This is one of the tricky parts about Protoss versus Protoss, right? So Hero knows that Zoun knows that there's supposed to be a second pylon. Zoun is going to look around the main base of Hero here to see whether or not the pylon is there. Upon not seeing the second pylon, Zoun may now assume that it's a proxy, because that is something Hero is very well known for. But what Hero decides to do instead is just plant the pylon in the middle of nowhere, just to make Zoun overreact. This is one of the most common mind games you see in PvP. It's a bit of a cheeky one, so we have a second pylon right over here for Zoun. Third one right now coming up as well. But Zoun is a little bit suspicious. He's looking around. He just wants to make sure that there's no hidden Stargate or anything along those lines. Now that we're scouting, though, for a hidden Stargate, Hero decides to play some 200 IQ and go for a Stargate straight into the main base. Oh, Protoss versus Protoss. What a wonderful matchup. All right, so Zoun is currently, his team at the very least, Team Rogue, is leading this series. We haven't seen a single Zerg yet, actually, so it's Team SHIN going up against Team Rogue, 2 Zerg players. But apparently we're not going to have any Zergs just yet. And I guess technically there is a chance, right? If it turns out to be a 4-0, there is a chance that this is going to be a Zergless series, despite both of the team captains being Zerg. Do you send yourself out first, though, if you're a team captain for a game like this? Like, what is the strategy? If you're Rogue, if you are SHIN, do you send out your best players first? Or do you send out... I mean, maybe that's kind of rude to say. Maybe you don't want to say it to their face at the very least. But I think it does make sense to send out the likes of, for example, Maru early. But I guess the downside is, if you are going to send out Maru early, you may make the assumption then that the other team is also going to be sending out their #1 player first, which would be Hero. You may end up in a spot where everything's just kind of messy and nothing really makes sense anymore. So maybe saving it until a little bit later is indeed the smart call. So again, the player choices were made before knowing the maps. And I guess just as far as the order goes. So there's, I guess, a little bit of strategic thinking involved. You got to think about what the players are on the opposing player's team or the opposing team. And then you got to decide where you want to go ahead and send out your star players. But it looks like Hero has found a wide open base. And this is one of those Protoss versus Protoss games that could be over very quickly, because Zoun is now rallying everything across the map. There is a secondary base already done here for the Protoss player in blue, but he won't have a lot of workers anymore. There's only 8 of them remaining. Recall is going to be used as the Immortal got lifted up immediately. But now we go home to a burning house. I mean, you probably still need to go home to, like, call the insurance company or whatever, right? But this is an absolute disaster here for Zoun. That recall basically just secured the win for Hero. Yeah, he needs to go all in again. There's really not much he can do. This one Oracle here, so this 200 IQ Oracle, it got 19 probe kills. I really like that we have the proxy pylon to make the opponent think that it's going to be a proxy Stargate. And then since they assume it's a proxy Stargate, we just build a Stargate in the main base, go for a single Oracle. We have now lulled Zoun into a false sense of security, and we have killed literally all the things. There's a bit of irony there. Anyways, in the meantime, we have a ton of production here as well for Hero, who is just going to be able to outproduce the blue player here very quickly. Should be a wall off here. Nicely done. All that Hero needs to do is defend this. And while this doesn't look like a terrible fight here for Zoun, having that prism is pretty sweet. I just don't think he's going to be able to really punch all of these units to their death. There's not a lot of energy remaining there inside of the shield battery. And obviously we do have that prism up in the air, which is pretty nice, but a second Immortal is already out. We're going to try and siege up over here to warp in a couple more troops, but that is not going to happen. GG. I was just talking about how we had not seen any Zerg yet. Turns out our next game is on White Rabbit between 2 of them. Back-to-back mirror matchups, spawning right here in the upper right, just to make it confusing for everybody. Changing his username back to Ragnarok. we have none other than SHIN. His opponent down in the bottom left, playing in red. We're looking at Solar's main hatchery. Okay. So, apparently SHIN decided to basically put himself out about halfway throughout the best of 7. Fair enough. It's going to be a hatchery first here for the both of them. Zerg versus Zerg is a very, very hectic matchup. Somebody gave the analogy to me many, many years ago that it's a knife fight in a phone booth. Now, I guess the fact that a phone booth was mentioned already sounds like, you know, it's very clear that this is indeed something that was said a very long time ago. But I do believe it to be very accurate. Yeah. It is just so easy to accidentally make a mistake in this matchup. Like, effectively, both of these players are spec'd 100% into damage, and they are not really spec'd into survivability at all. That's not to say you can't play defensive Zerg versus Zerg. It's just really hard to pull off. Like the Protoss versus Protoss we just watched, margin for error is absolutely minuscule, and I think in ZVZ it's even bigger than in PvP. Just because everything has so much damage output and so little HP, comparative at least to all of the Protoss units that are out there. But that previous game was a pretty great example as to what happens when you don't build a spore crawler, a shield battery rather, inside of your mineral line, and a random oracle flies in. Okay. So it's going to be a hatch into a gas into a spawning pool for the both of them. Double gas on, or double queen rather on the back of this. And you kind of end up playing this little mini game of Zergling Chicken. Since you have these flying supply depots, right? You have these flying pylons. You can park them right outside of your opponent's natural expansion and notice whether or not anything is moving across. So SHIN right now will see 2 Zerglings from Solar. And since he obviously knows that there's now 2 Zerglings out on the map, he can react to that amount of links. Since he's only seen 2, he's not really too concerned. And he decides to, yeah, just keep droning here, fire up a few of his own Zerglings a little bit later. But it's all about trying to basically build up a superior work account. So the game of drones, that is what you're looking at. Both players want to try and make use of that Zerg macro mechanic ASAP. But obviously, if you're too greedy, you might end up taking a punch to the mouth. Not ideal. It's going to be a Baneling nest over here. Brenda believes that she saw an Overlord overextending. Not going to be the case though. SHIN already pulling that one away. Solar actually also pulling this Overlord out of position. I don't really love it. He's kind of blind here. Weirdly enough, he's going to check out both of the left and then the right side flank, but not the most obvious location here in the middle. I guess that's what that Zergling is out on the map for. Just to spot a big influx of links from the opponent running across, but there's actually a pretty obvious blind spot here. Solar wants to, I think, get a scout off the main base. He is going to finish up Metabolic Boost. That's unlucky, though. The Queen was already waiting, and that means that this Link Scout is not going to happen. We have an alternative scout here for SHIN, who wants to do the same thing on the other side of the map. He has seen the opponent's third hatch. Is he going to be able to get into the main base? Yes, he will. Oh. Ring around to Rosie for just a moment. The rally point there was not quite optimal. He'll be looking for things like hidden, like roach warrants, hidden evo chambers, very quick lairs, that sort of thing. What he has seen so far, though, is that everything is normal. There is going to be a roach warren for both players, right at the front. There is going to be an evo chamber as well for Ragnarok. For SHIN, that is. Should I call him Ragnarok or SHIN? I never know. I mean, he used to be called Ragnarok, and now he's called SHIN, but now he's going... I don't know. Lair coming up here, man. Both players are actually remarkably identical. Like, they're getting there in somewhat different paths. But if you look at the production tab, like, things are more or less the same. I think both SHIN as well as Ragnarok are good usernames. So from what I understand, he participated in the LowkoTV Team League recently. And he played together, as we do have a little bit of a Zergling attack here. Maybe they're going to be able to get a queen? Nah, not quite. He played together with some of his old CJ Entus buddies. So, one of the original StarCraft teams. And because of that, for a little bit of additional nostalgia, as we do see a nice detonation here, he decided to change his username back to Ragnarok. Couple of units here, trying to sneak through the cracks. Baneling purposefully not used up there because he knows that these blue Zerglings are dead as it is already. And, yep. Ultimately, not a lot of advantages just yet. Shindo has decided, or Ragnarok, I think I should probably call him Ragnarok, has decided to start pumping out some units. Roaches are very supply heavy. We've got a Hydra net on the back of this as well. Obviously, one of the most important transitions that you have to be aware of as a Zerg player in this matchup is the potential to see a Spire from the opponent. And if you're caught off guard with no reliable anti-air, Mutalisk can just end the game very rapidly. We have Overlord speed right here, though, for Solar. So maybe he wants to go for a cheeky little push here, or maybe he just wants to patrol those units around so he doesn't all get them biled down. Either way, there's a 4th hatchery right now coming up here for the Zerg player in red. Ranged upgrade coming up for the Hydralisks. +1 missile as well here for the Zerg player in blue. And we are going to go into the good old Roach speed research. A very respectable game here of ZVZ, right? Both players, yeah, throwing some punches here and there. Both players trying to get a small advantage, but neither of them is really too committed. Really what we're doing is building up the amount of troops that we have. Now, ultimately, there's gonna have to be a clash. And that clash may very well be arriving shortly. Solar is stuck on just pure Roach. For now, we see the same thing here for Shin, but he can start adding on Hydralisks as well. And there is, of course, always a chance that he's just gonna keep running across. We do have centrifugal hooks added into the mix. Solar does have the defender's advantage, meaning that his units just spawn closer to the fight. He wants to get, though, Ragnarok, that is, those Ravagers, and he will be able to snipe all 3 of them. Those are really nice moves there from the player in blue. He now also has a good splitty here on his units, negating most of the Baneling splash damage. And this defense here for Solar is a disaster. Maybe the fact that units will be spawning slightly closer to the battle can be his saving grace. But that was about as good as it was ever going to be there for Ragnarok. Roaches are definitely the way to go here. Solar adding on that many Banelings is always risky, especially when they just get nothing done. And now the workers are going to have to pay the price. Can't say I like this here for Solar. Shin doesn't really have to go all in with this. He could, but I wouldn't mind it here if he decided to just sort of give up on this fight and regroup. Because like I said, he is going to get +2. He is going to get those Hydras. It's a very big power spike. And right now, those red Roaches just spawning closer to the battle is really big. Yeah, I think going home, regrouping, and going again in like a minute from now is a good choice. This is, of course, going to give Solar quite a chance as well to catch back up. Keep in mind, though, that Solar did overdrone previously. So even though this may feel like a very, very significant advantage right now for Ragnarok, it doesn't necessarily have to be. Nice snipey over there on that additional Ravager. I'm surprised he hasn't added on any sort of Hydras at all. There's a bunch of Ovies out on the map too that are nice to kill. I guess he really wants to double down. Now we're going to go into some Hydras. Fair enough. Yeah, the problem here for Solar is that he's just not able to really get his feet under him. Right? Like he's stumbling down. He's trying his best to somehow, some way stabilize. Shin is in overextension territory, but I think he's managing this all very nicely. Feigning to back up for just a moment, and now forcing his opponent out of the game, evening up the score. Okay, next up, we find ourselves on the map 10,000 feet. Spotting right here in the bottom right, we're looking inside of the main base of Classic. And all the way in the upper left, playing in red, we have Cure. I was just thinking, both of these teams have 6 players on them. So Team Rogue has Rogue, Maru, Bunny, Zoun, Solar, Classic. Yeah, and then Team Shin has Shin, Creator, SOS, Hero, Cure, and ByuN. That is 6 players each. So I'm assuming if this does end up going down to a Game 7, we'll probably have an ace match, right? Where both teams get to send out one final player. Now, if you are the team captain, do you send out yourself? Like, it is maybe the noble thing to do, right? But also, it's a little selfish. All of these players are going to be perfectly capable of holding their own. And if you look at the actual stats, I think Maru and Hero are the highest ranked players for the, well, individual teams. So I'm guessing, yeah, I'm guessing if we end up getting to that point, that would make the most sense. Anyhow, we're not quite there yet. 10,000 feet it is. It's a lot of feet. Some might argue that's too many feet. I still don't quite understand foot as a unit of measurement, but anyway. You know, one thing that kind of throws me off a little bit about this map, and I didn't realize this until I was already a couple of months into the new ladder map pool, is that all of the orbs that are floating around on this map are stretched. Like, look at them. These are not okay, man. Why are they stretched? We just, for some reason, lengthened them a little bit. Not okay. I'm not okay with that. Anyhow, it's going to be a Blink Stalker opener right here for Classic. And in the meantime, Cure, interestingly enough, decides to go into a Raven together with the Interference Matrix upgrade. Normally, we only ever see this upgrade in TVP if you want a fake cloak. Ah, okay. That's why we got it. Fair enough. It seemed to me like we were going to try and just stick around with it, but what are you going to disable? I guess you could go ahead and use Interference Matrix on something like a Colossus. I kind of thought that Cure had something cool going on here, but nope. He canceled it. And then decided to, yeah, go into Stimpack instead. Makes a lot more sense. Okay. Fair enough. He just was researching that for a little bit longer. I'm guessing he maybe assumed that the Adept was going to be able to be within range. Like maybe he thought that he built that structure just a little bit too close. The Raven is going to be dropping a bunch of auto turrets behind the mineral lines. In the meantime, though, Classic is going to follow this up with a very classical approach. He did get Blink, but he's not going to commit too heavily into it. Now, we do have 4 gateways in total, but there is a third Nexus on the back of this as well. How much damage can the Raven deal? Gotta respect the Raven, man. 2 probes. Not bad. Little warp in as well at home. Not too shabby. Gonna try and send out the Prism here around the site. There are also 2 Stalkers right now at the front, but I think the Siege Tank here is good enough. Wants to get a couple worker kills there too. Both players really just tiptoeing around one another, while building up a much more powerful mid-game. So we have a nice little concave here of structures, maximizing the amount of damage the Siege Tank can deal. Just on the off chance that we are going to see a big blink into the main base, it'd be difficult for those Stalkers to then, well, not just blink into the main base, but also to take out the Siege Tank. Cure right now aiming for Stimpack, combat shields, +1 infantry attacks. And in the meantime, Classic is going to go into the good old Stormy Boys together with Charge. Now, this is that phase in TVP that a lot of Terran players don't really love. So this is where most people, most Terrans, do a little bit of, I was going to call it whining, but let's come up with a more positive phrasing. They do a little bit of aggressive feedback. They focus on long-term improvement for the balance of the game. This is where most Terran players will absolutely try to double down on the fact that they're having a tricky time against Protoss. Yeah. And they do so in a very productive manner, by the way. Anyhow, you get this supply advantage right now, but it still kind of feels like you can't push across. So, Classic is gonna have some form of splash damage. Be it Colossus, be it Psystorm, or I guess just a stupid amount of units, right? Like if you have enough Stalkers and Zealots especially, they can shut this type of attack down really well. So most Terran players kind of do what Cure just did. They move out a little bit, or not at all, and then they just go back home and turtle up. A lot of Terrans right now basically think that they can't do anything in this matchup until they are maxed out. So you see, for example, Maru going for those SCV pools. That's in the early game. But then once you enter the mid game, Terran feels extremely limited. And on the flip side, Protoss kind of feels like they have about 17 viable options. Slight exaggeration there, but Protoss really has so much freedom that they can just go and do whatever they like. So, more often than not, players like Cure, players like ByuN, they end up turtling a ton in this matchup. Mostly because they feel like they can't do anything else. Like, either you all in early on, or you win in the late game, but there's nothing in between. And I don't really know exactly if the rule is really that hard or fast, but it's the general vibe, I suppose, that a lot of Terran players currently have. So that seems to be what Cure is aiming for here. It's been a pretty stable game for him across the board. Oof. Don't want to be losing your High Templar. It's been a pretty stable game across the board. But now he needs to let the Protoss player do whatever they like. And look at what he likes. He just went for a Robo Bay. And he already fired up the +1 arrow weapons. Big indication that Classic wants to go into a fleet beacon eventually. Probably sooner rather than later. And follow this up with either carriers or Tempests, a mothership, whatever you want. So look how greedy here Classic is being. Right? Like his supply count is not even close to that of the Terran. He's expending all over the map because he knows that this is a Terran player who's not going to be doing anything. Not until he's maxed out, so he's got a minute or two still to just sort of run around and do whatever he pleases. He's faking it. Classic is 100% faking it. He doesn't want to fight here. This is a distraction, though, for a nice little storm drop. Nice reaction speed, though, by Cure. The storm does indeed get weathered by the siege tank, but storm doesn't stack, so everything is a-okay. 2-2 has been fired up by Cure. He will be maxed out by the time that those upgrades are done. But he's just giving this Protoss so much freedom. Classic right now is like the guy at the end of Braveheart. I haven't seen that movie in a long time, but I remember the speech somewhat. And he's talking about freedom a lot, man. Classic is doing whatever he likes. Look, he's taking both the 3 o'clock as well as the 9 o'clock position. He doesn't even have probes for both of those bases. But he's just expending because he can. Triple Nexus all at the same time. 4 Stargates simultaneously. That's crazy stuff, man. Classic is being so ridiculously greedy because Terrans refuse to punish Protoss in the mid-game right now. And this is going to flip upside down because I think at some point, over the next couple of weeks, maybe the next couple of months, Terran players will realize how silly this is getting because Protoss is basically just cutting corners left, right, and center. He's doing everything. Yeah, and this is a bit too much freedom, I think. You should not be allowed to get away with this much greed as Classic. Doesn't even care about losing the Prism right now. Sends in the Zealots. Does a little bit of a push as well over here. There is a Templar, by the way, in the mix. Maybe a little storm on the ramp. Nah, we're gonna go for the workers. All of this is here just to buy a bit of time. Gravitic Drive coming up. Double Prism coming up. Second Cyber Core. Triple Carrier. +1 shields. Okay, somebody's got to stop this very greedy man. Because this is getting silly. Classic is marching around. Like, this is one of those games where it's 20 minutes rush. Or like 20 minutes no rush, rather. But only for the opponent. He's just hanging out. Marching from the right side of the map to the left side of the map. It's important for troop morale. Get your units to walk around a little bit as well, you know? Alright, finally Cure has decided he wants to do a bit of a move out. 2-2 is just about done here for the Terran. And has Classic been too greedy? Like, did Classic go too far? Is he gonna get punished here? Well, this 9 o'clock base is super dead. But obviously he made so many Nexi that he can also give up a couple. Mama is gonna be added into the mix. She's expensive, but she's powerful. Double Prism in the upper right, man. The only downside here for Classic is that he doesn't have any supply available to be warping units in with. This Terran army, though, does look very spicy. And even though this has been a very greedy Protoss player, I don't really know if his army is good enough. Like, we're a couple EMPs away from this game actually being a disaster. Classic completely out of position here. I kind of hate this. Wait a second. Is this Terran just going to march straight into the main? Yeah, Cure's just going to go into the main. It is risky, though. Mama is just about to spawn. Some really big storms also do blanket pretty much the entirety of the Terran army. I don't know where Cure was going with this push. Like, he wanted to go into the main base, but then simultaneously also back up. There's the mothership. I think Cure was a little bit surprised with the freedom that he found. Man, that is the quickest mothership death I have ever witnessed. Practically spawn killed, but Even though Mama died, that was still a very, very efficient attack here for Classic in the end. Carriers. Interesting unit, huh? Having a really tough time there against a couple of Vikings. Pure thought that he found himself in a really nice position. It's like, I got into the main base! I just marched my army straight into the... Now what? What do I do next? Where do I... Alright, Mama may be dead, but Stepmom will be joining in, no worries. She's gonna be remarkably similar to the first. Takes her a while to get going, though. So Terran does have a really nice set of late-game upgrades, right? And that is what Cure is now sort of forced to lean into. You have the Caduceus reactor upgrade. That's for Medevacs. Doubles their regen. We have things like high-sec auto-tracking, building armor, advanced ballistics as well for Liberators. That is why the Terran late game is considered very strong. Protoss and Zerg will usually finish upgrading much sooner than Terran will. There's a lot of those late game upgrades that are just very strong. I'm a bit surprised Classic isn't going in a bit deeper. Like, he's just chilling. I guess he wants to wait for Stepmom to be out. 9 o'clock base retaken. 3 o'clock base is finally gonna get a little bit of mining, I would imagine. We should probably send some probes on over in that direction too. There's indeed a ranged upgrade for Libs. Yeah, he's waiting for Stepmom. Oh, is she out? Where did she go? Ah, there she is. Do you think we should have a hero unit for Terran and for Zerg as well? Like, why is Protoss the only one that gets a big shiny toy? Should we have like a Leviathan for Zerg? And I don't know, like a big-ass battlecruiser or something for Terran? Another Gorgon! Send in a Gorgon. One of General Warfield's. That would be nice. Maybe too much overlap with battlecruisers. How about we make battlecruisers viable instead? Anyhow, Cloaking Field gets activated. Planetary Fortress over here in the choke point, though, is strong. For some reason, we are moving really far forward with the carriers. Ultimately, the Planetary Fortress does end up dying. Classic is just trying to storm his way up this ramp. A very risky proposition, but any trade right now is beneficial, of course, for Classic, because he has more mining here than the Terran can really have. What about the Odin? What about the Big Thor instead? I've always been a little bit confused as to why Protoss does have a hero unit. Ah, we're gonna try and go for a 1-2 punch. So, recall onto the Nexus is gonna allow the Protoss army to be transported towards the right side of the map. And in the meantime, Mama is ready to move into the main base. Now, there's a factory over there. He wants to get into the main base, force this Terran army to go to the upper right, and then warp this entire Protoss death ball into the main base. At least he's thinking about it. Yeah, Mama's kind of slow. Feels to me like Cure doesn't want to take the bait. He did lose a command center, though, so I guess, yeah, Classic is actually pretty pleased with how things are going as it is. Scan over here will reveal that there's nothing anymore nearby. Maybe Cure will have picked up as well on the fact that Mama is missing. Here we go. Here we go. Send him in. Recall. Oh, I love this play. This entire Protoss army is going to be transported straight into the main base. And now suddenly, you can storm the ramp. Yeah. And what do you do about this? Well, you can EMP. That was actually a really good start for Cure. Cure very quick on the EMPs. I don't think that really was supposed to happen. Stepmom ends up dying. Unlucky. And you know what? Maybe we can just point the Vikings at all of these units. Carriers can die in one hit. Colossi can die in one hit. Everything dies in one hit. Wait a second. Wait a second. Cure may have just found the perfect setup. Like, their Viking count is so ridiculously big that effectively transitioning to Skytos or any sort of carrier is just no longer a good choice. We do have some Zealots going in as well for the counterattack. Some SCVs have died, but the amounts are relatively small. What do you call the third mothership? I don't know, man. The step mothership? I don't know. That goes a bit far. I don't know how many layers deep we have to go. Yeah, that was actually a disaster for Classic. It looked awesome. Like, the fight was really cinematic. But him getting his High Templar EMP'd and the Ghost in the Terran army, I guess, all of it being forced up the ramp like that is a really big deal. Classic is now also remaxing. Even though he knows his opponent has a ridiculous amount of Vikings, he's remaxing with Carriers and Colossus. I don't think that's what we need at all. We're no longer in one-shot territory, but it's still really sweet. Zealot run by yet again, though. Ooh, actually, it's not mostly Zealots. It's also a bunch of High Templar. The High Templar should have been at home. Small amounts of Terran units are going to have a pretty easy time against this type of army. Should we be storming the boys? Maybe we should be storming the boys, but I guess we probably need to be paying attention to the main fight right over here. Liberators are coming out. High Templar are trying to see if they can just buy some time, but maybe we should be bringing them back home, because they really can be pivotal in the upcoming engagement. Next mothership is just about to spawn. Another Colossus will also pretty much spawn upon death. Mama's gonna try and hide. She's recalling. What is she recalling? The High Templar. And even though we had problems defending the opponent's ramp, oh, he got EMP'd again. I'm getting deja vu, but now on the other side of the map. This is risky, though. Wait a second. Cure, you already got stuck in the main base once. Did we just get stuck again? There ain't no way, dude. Both players are making... No, it's okay. There's no detection. Wait a second. There's no detection. Protoss has no detection. We have about 24 cloaked ghosts. Huh? This game has just gotten pretty nuts. What a... There's no detection. Yeah, Classic is actually just straight up dead because of it. He needs some sort of detection. I don't think he's realized it yet. I guess alternatively, you can wait until the energy on those ghosts runs out. But Classic just got torn apart by a bunch of ghosty boys. He believed he wasn't afraid of ghosts. But I think it's time to start checking under your bed every night. You never know. What if Nova's hiding? Wouldn't you want to know? Anyways, yeah, this is actually just straight up game over. Classic really threw this one in my mind. Like, he was allowed to do whatever he pleased for like the first 14 minutes of this game. And somehow, some way, I mean, obviously it's because of the Terran also playing some stellar StarCraft, but somehow, some way, he ended up getting his entire army EMP'd multiple times over. If you're gonna rely on mostly those High Templar to sustain your late game army, you really need to be controlling them perfectly. EMP range is long, don't get me wrong, but again, like, look at us, we're just running around here. This is a fight right now, though, that Cure is gonna be pretty happy to take. Even though he will trade out a load of units, he knows that Protoss' economy is just gonna be a bit of a disaster at this point. Yeah, the ghosts really have been the absolute key to this puzzle. That and the lack that well, High Templar haven't really been too effective. And that there isn't any sort of detection here available anymore for the Protoss. Classic believes that this game is pretty close, but it really isn't. He's lost 62 probes just now. And with that, GG, Cure and his team get another point on the board. I didn't realize this, dude. I have watched many videos over the years on YouTube, right? And I've always noticed that when Americans go to, say, for example, Paris, they will always say that they are currently in Paris, France. They will always make it very obvious that the Paris they're talking about is in France, which I always thought was kind of weird, until I realized there's like 20 Parises. I don't know what the plural is of Paris, but there's like 20 Parises in the US. Wait, you live in Canada? Your parents live close to Athens in Canada, and you can drive to Frankfurt in Canada? How many cities in the world are named Paris? What? 30 to 40 places? How do we not know the absolute number? The vast majority being small towns, unincorporated communities, or census-designated places in the US. Beyond the original capital of France, notable examples include Paris, Texas, Paris, Kentucky, and Paris, Tennessee. Yeah, this one's very notable, dude. I think about Paris and Tennessee all the time. The Paris in Tennessee has an Eiffel Tower? What? No, wait, that's the flag of Paris, Tennessee? Okay, and that means we have arrived at, well, the last set of players in this particular best of 7. Spotting right here, in the upper right-hand corner of Mothership, we have none other than ByuN. Down on the left side, we're looking inside of the main base of Rouge. Or Rogue. One of the two. But I know that one of the absolute most typical... Rouge. My favorite way to typo his particular username. Okay, now I don't really know exactly what happens if, hypothetically speaking, Rouge were to win this game. I would imagine we get an ace match at that point because we are out of players. It's going to be a hatchery into another extractor trick right over here for Zerg. And then probably into a spawning pool right here. I think this is the spot today. Right here, man. This is the spot right over here. Come on, Rogue. Make me look good one time. Just like one time. I know we need to get some minerals first, but I think this is going to be a location where... What are we doing? Oh, okay, we're making another... Okay. Right here. Okay. Okay. Fine. I didn't care anyways. Command center on the low ground here for ByuN. Opening up with a good old command center first. Command center, into a barracks, and then eventually a gas. This is a very passive start for ByuN. But of course, since it's a 3-player map, you can usually get away with it. Rogue is somebody that's not afraid to cheese you, but on a map like this, it's just tough. It's just more difficult. Because if you commit to an early game push and you accidentally run in one of the wrong directions, well, yeah, I guess that's a little bit of a problem you run into. Not ideal. Double gas immediately on the back of this here for ByuN. ByuN does seem to enjoy this matchup quite a bit better. I don't really know exactly if he's talked about it, but I feel like he is absolutely hating Terran versus Protoss lately. Because every time I see ByuN play against Protoss, he is just playing the slowest game of his life. Similar, I suppose, to what we just saw Cure do against Classic. But ByuN really does take it up another notch. Then again, though, if you do really despise playing Terran versus Protoss, you could just do what Maru does, right? And maybe what Maru does is difficult. Like, just play like Maru, right? Like, it's easier said than done. But the Maru 1-base or 2-base all-ins really aren't rocket science. I understand that the micro that you need to pull off is very tricky, as we do have a quick lair right here for Rogue. But, you know, the worst case scenario is that the game is over in like 5 minutes, right? So if you really despise the game, if you really don't want to play the matchup, I feel like an all-in like that is always a nice thing to keep, well, tucked away in your sleeve. Maybe on the maps with a slightly shorter rush distance. Anyhow, this is a very quick lair here for Rogue. So, do we go into a Roach Warren? Do we go into a Spire? Do we go into a Hydra Den? That's been reasonably popular lately. Yeah, a lot of Terran players have been reasonably vocal, as we do go for a Roach Warren. Clem has... So, as you probably know, Clem has been playing Protoss against Terran for many... Well, many years goes a bit far, but for like maybe 2 years at this point. He doesn't play Terran versus Terran anymore. He's been exclusively playing Protoss against Terran, which is pretty neat. Lately, though, he has also been playing Protoss against Protoss. I don't know if it's a cry for help or a balance complaint, or if he genuinely believes the matchup is no longer viable. But he's been playing quite a lot of Protoss versus Protoss rather than Terran versus Protoss. Or Terran versus Terran. So he's mostly just playing Terran versus Zerg now, it seems. A little bit of irony there. Anyways, Rogue is going very quick. Roach Warren with Roach Speed. Is this the I don't want to die to stupid stuff build? Or are we actually committed to a big all-in? No, I think we're doing the I don't want to die to anything stupid build. Curious. Hellions going around. Oh no. Unlucky. Could have had an extra creep tumor kill there, which is kind of a big deal. I keep getting worried that I got the scoreboard wrong. So we have Maru, who won against Creator. Then game number 2, we had Bunny, who won against SOS. Then game number 3, we had Hero, who won against Zoun. Then we had Solar going up against Shin. That was a win for Shin. Then we had Cure taking on Classic. That was a win for Cure. So Team Shin is leading 3-2. ByuN is on Team Shin. Rogue is... Yeah, he had Bunny and Maru winning it. No, I got it right. Whew. The only downside of this particular format. I got to keep my head in the game. Nice little run by over here, though. Can we actually get some juicy hits? A little bit of a barbecue hosted by ByuN. I think what's tripping me up here is that the players switch colors. I think the... if I'm not mistaken, Team Shin was playing with red earlier. Not the players really care about that. May have just been coincidence, but... Anyways, very interesting build here by Rogue. So, super quick 2-base lair, right? Or we did have a third hatchery, I suppose, but for all intents and purposes, it was like 2-base lair. We go quick roaches with roach speed. Now we go double upgrades and an infestation pit. But double upgrade for melee. So, he's doing a bit of pressure here, but this is really him just trying to be cheeky. Like, he's hoping that ByuN here is going to overcommit to the defense. This is not a committed attack here at all by Rogue. He's got 7 units. Or, okay, maybe 8. He's got a bunch of units here, but certainly not enough to win the game with. ByuN, though, not really taking the bait very much. Starts up the armory here as well at the top of the natural expansion, as he will go into the +2/+2 at a reasonable time here, I'm sure. Now that he realizes, though, the push was mostly a fake out, he's going to send out a medevac full of Marines towards the other side. We've got a hive coming up here for Rogue. 6.5 minutes of in-game time, by the way, on that hive. It's very quick. Yeah, I think he's just using the roaches here as a stepping stone. Sorry, guys, but you just exist to keep this Zerg player somewhat safe. But not even that safe, but like somewhat safe, I guess. Chasing around over here, trying to keep an eye out on exactly what we are facing off against. So this is really all just a very complex setup for Rogue to skip out on Banelings. Despite the fact that Banelings did get an HP reversal in the most recent patch and they're stronger now than they have been in quite a long time, Zerg players at this level still don't really consider them that great of a unit early on. It's interesting how over the last year, Banelings really have turned from like an essential early game unit to like a late game transition, right? Isn't that funny? You can get them early on, but they don't seem to be worthwhile against the absolute world-class Terrans because their micro is just too good. Later on, when there's only so many things you can control... Oh no, this is bad for ByuN. He's gonna lose that lib. Shouldn't have unsieged it, man. We knew it was dead. I guess he hoped that maybe the Marine drop was gonna be able to get the job done, but... There's the Ultra Cavern. It's a super quick Ultra Cavern. Really? He stopped flying it. But lucky for ByuN here that the extra biles did not quite connect. Zergling speed is just about finished. He can go straight into Adrenal Glands as well. It's an expensive set of upgrades though. And ByuN is going to go for a nice little move out. How many infestors with energy do we have? There's at least 2. At least 2 fungals available. Difficult spot over here, though. There's the Adrenal Glands coming up. Rogue is going for a nice little counterattack, but nice interception here as well by ByuN. SCV run by, or Zergling run by, rather, into the SCV line is going to be annoying, but I think this is going to be the real question. Will Rogue be able to break this? I don't think so. No. The amount of tanks available here is significant. Since he did save the base over here at the bottom, he decides to evacuate the drones preemptively. Chitinous plating done. That's going to make this defense way easier. I wonder if maybe Rogue should add on a Viper or 2. Likewise, I wonder if maybe ByuN needs to start getting some additional late game production going. Because we may want to go into, for example, Ghosts or Liberators in a bit. He must know at this point that it's going to be either Vipers or Ultras. Hard to say exactly what it's going to be. Sparktrawler is going to be moving on over towards the edge. All of the Terran units inside of the main base of the Zerg do die. Zergling run by in the meantime on the right side. Could have gone after the siege tank, but really what Rogue is trying to do right now is buy time. He knows that that is what we need. There it is, by the way. Baneling Nest. So, +2 is just about done. Adrenal Gland's nearly finished. This is a very tight build order by Rogue. He's been forced to pull out a couple of pretend moves, right? At the very least, he wanted to make his opponent believe that he was going to go for a big push. But ultimately, this is really just built to get to a late game very quickly. And to get to fully maxed out Ultras ASAP. Obviously, we still have the +3 as well for these Ultralisks. +3 armor is big. But as long as the Terran is sitting only at +2 attack, you don't really need it. So there we go. Immediately fires that up too. Nice build here, honestly, by Rogue. It's a risky one. If you would have lost that base in the middle, for example, that would have been a problem. ByuN is going to be able to snipe the base over here at the bottom, but now the Ultras are out, and there's no real counter. Good little fungal here as well. It's just Marines, man. Marines and Marauders. Cool, guys. Don't look at explosions. Another fungal. Oh! That was not directed by Michael Bay, man. He didn't look at the explosion initially, but then he decided to look back and get another juicy fungal in instead. This drop at the bottom, though, is still going to town. Zerglings and Ultras, though, will be able to make short work of it. Rest of the Terran army thinking about chasing this down, but he needs to be so careful because those fungals, the fungals are just going to tear you apart. If the Ultras can actually get within range, they just destroy everything. 6 more of those bad boys coming up. Nothing blocking them in the natural, by the way, this time around. Was that SHIN going up against? I think it was SHIN actually going up against ByuN, if I'm not mistaken. With all the Ultras getting stuck in the bases. Not ideal. ByuN is doing the thing where he is refusing to play late game. He's been doing this and he's getting, I don't know, he's been doing this a little bit more lately. It's a very stubborn approach. So he's not getting Liberators and he's not getting Ghosts. He's also not getting +3 armor. So we end up in a position where I'm a little bit worried that as this game progresses, ByuN is going to fizzle out. I think this is one of those games that ByuN's dreaming of, or maybe he finds a lot of success with on the ladder. But this is a world-class Zerg you're playing against, and if you're skipping out on late game against him, he is going to overwhelm you in the long run. The days of being able to play Marine Marauder Medevac until the very end of the game are over, man. Like, we need something else. Now he realizes that he never got the +3 armor started. I don't think you can play this Limbo style here against Mass Ultra. He does fire up some libs right now, which is good. Already, though, we have a Spire added into the mix. Rogue is going to be able to pwn the libs pretty easily. Like it's Twitter in 2024 or something. I don't know. I don't really use Twitter very much anymore, but you should go follow me. Actually, nah, you should probably go... Maybe check out the Discord. Discord.gg/LowkoTV. You know what? I think that's the best place to do. Discord.gg/LowkoTV. That's where the community hangs out. That's where all the Giga nerds get together. Talk about StarCraft. And other things. Here's the Ultras, though, once more. And this is so much damage dealt here by Rogue that I'm a little bit afraid that it's the beginning of the end for ByuN. It's not that ByuN is in, like, an unplayable position or whatever, but he's just kind of slow with this late game spot, right? Like, he's just not really making the switch over. And while he's gonna try and arrive there eventually, I'm wondering if I wonder if it's a little too late. Like, he's both making Ghosts and Liberators now, but he should have started up one of those minutes earlier. All of this will be cleaned up now. But Rogue has already done the damage that he wanted to do. You can also join the Discord, by the way, if you're not a Giga nerd. Nah, it's okay. I will identify as a Giga nerd myself, believe it or not. Big fall. GG gets cold, yeah. that means it all comes down to this. The ace match of this best of 7 team league. Where in the upper left, playing in blue, we have none other than Maru sending out an SCV across the map. Bottom right, playing in red, we're looking inside of the main base of Hero. Maru, wait a second, oh no! We have invited 2 clowns to the final game. Welcome to the circus, everybody. They're both trying to cheese one another. This is awkward though, because now they both know that we're still gonna double down. I guess we have to. Well, I'm wearing my my big red nose. I've got my overlarge shoes on. I've got my wig on my head. I hope you're ready, man, because this is about to become a bit of a clown show. I think it's already better though for Maru, because Maru scouted, accidentally stumbled upon this, wanted to cheese himself, and then just built the barracks at home. Hero would have loved to now start up his very first gateway inside of the main base, but that's not possible, right? Because you need the power field. So now it's become a very awkward setup where both players know what's going on, and I think Maru will benefit from this the most. Then again, though, Terran doesn't have a ton of wiggle room early on to be able to shut down stuff like this. Hero still has not built a second pylon, so the Cyber Core will also go up right over here. We canceled the Zealot here that was in production. Goes for the Nexus at 20 supply instead, and now we're gonna go for the pylon right next to the hexagon that the creator of the Potato Citadel map so delicately crafted into the base of the map. All right, anyways, how do you play this out now here if you're Maru? Like, do you decide to double down with one base aggression yet again, just to try and shut this sort of thing down? Like, if you go for an SCV pool now, right, and you make the trip down south first, kill both of these structures, or 3 of these structures even, and then you continue onwards with your little aggression to the natural, is that good for Terran? Because the Cyber Core does have, well, it's one of the things you need to build Stalkers, to build Adepts, to build Sentries, right? Like, the Cyber Core is an absolutely critical structure, and for Hero now, it's living out in the middle of nowhere. Hero will see that there is indeed no command center on the low ground, but he will not be able to get into the main base and figure out if it's a double gas start. It's a pretty safe assumption, though, as we now even have a second Rex as well for Maru. So this is a lot of structures. It's a lot of production this early on into a game. It does indicate as well... Oh. Ooh, that was a cheeky grenade, man. Nicely done by Maru. Almost wonder if it was an accident, but I guess it worked. Problem right now for Hero is that he doesn't know if there's a command center building. Maru is going to be super committed to this one base shenanigans, so he's probably planning on shutting all of this stuff down before it really lays eggs. Now, we do have the Twilight Council coming. I am assuming going charge is the best choice here, just because you don't need a Cyber Core in order to make any sort of units out of it. But Hero is very much so a blinky boy. And I guess that's a nice idea, but I wonder if it's better here to go charge. He decides to recall the Stalkers upon seeing the Cyclone. Is going to be able to get both of them out. It's going to be Blink. Okay. That does mean, though, that this Cyber Core is absolutely critical. You need to make sure that you keep this Cyber Core alive here when you do play Blink. Maru actually hit a supply block. Wait a second. He just killed one of his own SCVs here because he hit a supply block. Oh no, that's messy. I guess he really wanted to start up the Viking here, or whatever it was that he had to kill there. Yeah, he killed a bunch of his own workers just to continue production a little bit quicker. I'm assuming we're gonna pull the boys anyways, or at least it kind of feels like one of those games. Because at this point, it's gonna be difficult to really continue onwards in this match if we don't win within the next minute or two. Maru is indeed gonna try and shut this down. Blink is only like halfway finished. We do not have a backup Cyber Core. It's 150 additional minerals. Just having the Cyber Core down, though, is okay, right? You don't actually have to have it powered up. Stalker count is big. Oh, and Hero wants to go for a push of his own. Absolute cinema here in this final game. Blink, though, it'd be such a big upgrade. Like, any form of Blink Stalker here is huge. I think Charge is easier, but Blink is still phenomenal. Here go the boys. This series is going to end the way that it started. I just wonder whether or not it will work out favorably for the Terran this time around. Because Maru has effectively now been tunnel visioned on those 3 structures at the bottom of the map. By the way, a new pylon did get built again, so Hero is using that gateway yet again. Ah, remember that double SCV kill? Well, that's apparently what we just lost there. Hero is thinking about making a Nexus, but honestly, this is a one-base play here from the Terran. He just needs to win this. SCV repair, though, is going in. He does commit with the Stalkers, but loses, I think, a couple of them? Yeah, 3 of them have died this game. This is going to be the end for those structures. We do have charge on the back of this and a very far forward robo facility. Why in the world is it positioned out here? The Stalkers now have been dedicated to apparently sniping the reinforcing troops. New cybercore building inside of the main base. Okay. Man, I think the robo facility is going to die so quick. Stalkers need to come back home, man. You guys have a very long road ahead of you. Immortal now. Within range of both these Terran units, though, as well as the shield battery. There is a backup pylon there to keep the shield battery alive. Second siege tank is going to arrive. In the meantime, the Stalkers are going in around the site. The robo facility ends up dying. Charge is moments away from finishing, though. He does blink in. He does blink in. He is going to be able to snipe the second siege tank. Third one right now added into the mix. Pylon here indeed does get shut down. Backup pylon over there as well. Immediately repowering it. Maru assumed, though, that indeed the Stalkers were going to blink yet again. Probes are going to have to be pulled, too. It is an absolute disaster here for Maru as he is losing everything. And with it, he needs to tap out, meaning that Hero and his team obtain the victory in the GSL CK. Lovely stuff. So congratulations to Team SHIN. That includes Creator, SOS, Hero, of course, Cure, and then ByuN. GG.